So I've been in the construction industry for about 23 years now. I started when I was 15 years old, y'all's age. I started by sweeping job sites after school every day because I needed money. I didn't come from a lot of money. My family was poor. So I started working at a young age. I was playing football, was going to school, sweeping job sites until dark. I didn't like sweeping job sites that much. It wasn't fun to me. It didn't keep my interest. So my stepdad at the time, he was a custom home builder. He's the one whose job sites I was sweeping every day. So I went to him and said, hey, I don't want to be a janitor anymore. What else can I do? He said, well, you better get with the trades guys and figure out their jobs. So a couple weeks later, I started working with the plumber. Worked with him for about 6 months. Learned plumbing, learned how to plumb a house, learned how to do repairs. Then I moved on to the electrical side of the business. Learned the electrical side. Then came summer. Out of school all summer long, what are you going to do? Well, my stepdad said I was going to frame houses for the summer. In Florida, in the heat. That was the most miserable summer of my high school career. I don't know if y'all framed houses, but it's about 110 degrees on top of a roof in the middle of the summer. It's brutal, guys. So I went to him after I framed houses for the summer. I said, look, I never want to frame another house in my life. And he said, well, you better learn the business side of it then. So every night I'd sit down with him at his computer. I'd learn how to do takeoffs, learn how to do material ordering. And I did that the rest of high school. I got hurt playing football, couldn't play football anymore, couldn't play football my senior year. I was heartbroken. That's all I ever wanted to do. That's all I was ever trained to do was to play football, be a football player. My dad was a football player. I was supposed to be a football player. Well, when you tear your knees up multiple times, that gets ended pretty quickly. So after high school, I decided I'm going to join the military. Again, no money for college. Didn't really want to be in the construction industry, so I go into the military. I get into the military 3 weeks into my career, I tear my knee up again. Now, some of y'all are too young to remember 9/11, but this was right after 9/11 when I went into the military. Normally, they would recycle soldiers. They would put you in a rehab ward. You would rehab. You would get better. They would push you back through boot camp. No, they just needed bodies at this time. So you got hurt, you went home. So I come home at 18, lost, confused, pissed off at the world, had nothing. Jump back into construction. Started doing that for a few more years. The economy started tanking. My stepdad's company went out of business. He lost everything. He lost the cars, he lost the houses, he lost the vacation homes, he lost it all. Because he had poor financial planning at the time. He never thought that money was going to stop coming in. I can assure you guys it does, and it will, at some point in your career. So I go work for a glass company that used to do all of our mirrors and closet shelves and all that. By the time I was 19, I was a full project manager for a glass company. I'd never worked in the glass industry a day in my life until I started with this gentleman. He believed in me, he taught me, and I was a sponge. I picked up everything he said to me, everything he did, everything he showed me. Then I moved back to Georgia. That's when I started working. I guess y'all call him Mr. Warren, Mr. T, whatever y'all call him. I started working for him. Now, I've known Tracy since I was a baby. My dad and he were cops together in the early 80s and 90s, or mid 80s, early 90s. So I'd known him my whole life. I'd grown up with his daughter. He has a daughter that's my age. He took me under his wing. Well, I say he took me under his wing. He really threw me out to the pasture and said, figure it out on your own pretty much. First job was a flooring job with him. He used to own a big flooring company. I'm sure he's talked to you guys about it before. My first ever laminate floor job. This is when laminate flooring was starting to get popular. He showed me what to do twice, how to put the floor together, and he said, there's a chop saw, there's a table saw, don't cut your hand off. That was my training. You can go ahead, you can sit down, you guys come on in. Join the crowd. So the training was short and sweet, guys. It was, don't hurt yourself, and you're fired before you do if you hurt yourself. That was what we were told. But he was hard. He wanted the best for us. He had a standard. He set a standard that really shouldn't have been able to be matched. It was just a high, high standard. But if we were going to work for him, that's what we had to do. And he kept that standard the entire time we worked for him. Fast forward about 2 years, I got a job offer in Florida. I went back to Florida to work in construction. I was 21 at the time. The company really wanted me. They had offered me at that time $25 an hour, which was a lot of money back then. I get down there, work for this company for 2 weeks. They get my driving record back, said, oh, your driving record's terrible. You can't work for us. Well, I just uprooted everything I had and moved to Florida. What you gonna do? You gonna tell them to run back home, or are you gonna figure it out? So within that 2 weeks of being at that company, I noticed a need. Does anybody know what ADA is? The American Disabilities Act? Your high school has to be ADA accessible. You gotta have ramps, grab bars, and things of that nature. So the company I went to work for, they did portable classrooms all over the state of Florida. Well, when they took a classroom from a high school and moved it to an elementary school in the middle of the summer, they had to be modified for elementary schools to be able to, elementary kids to be able to use them. So I saw that need. There was no contractor in the state of Florida that did that type of work. None. So I said, okay, I'm 21. Figured out how to start an LLC. Was very green at it. Didn't know how to do Secretary of State paperwork or anything like that. But at 21, I saw a need, and I fulfilled that need. And I just ran with it from there. I traveled the state of Florida from the day school got out until the day they went back to school. I didn't see my house. At 21, I was making more money than I knew what to do with. I was also wasting a lot more money than I knew what to do with as well. The whole point to that is it's not always just a visible job, guys. It's not always just a job posting that says, hey, we need an electrician. We need a plumber. Sometimes you got to look outside the box. What's a need that's not being fulfilled, and how can I fulfill it? And a lot of you guys are looking at me like I'm crazy right now, but it's true. Like there's so much out there that can be done that somebody else isn't doing. Or that you can figure out a better system to do it faster, quicker, cheaper. So if they're charging $150 for it and you can do it for $40 and they're doing it for $80, you're making more money, you're doing it faster. Well, that's how these big businesses grow. That's how Walmart grew. They did it better, they did it cheaper. So I continued with that company for a while until my son was born. I have a son that's y'all's age. He's 15, he's about to be 16. So I was 21, a single father with an infant. Yes, a single father. I raised him on my own his first 5 years of life. We didn't have hardly any money at the time because we packed up and moved back to Georgia so I could be closer to my family. I shut the company down, shut everything down because I did not know how to function on my own with an infant without any support out there. Guys, there was times that I could barely put food on the table for him. He never went hungry. Many nights I went to bed without food. We just didn't have a lot back then. There was one night, it was probably 2008. I just bought a house in Georgia, and the economy was starting to turn downward. Well, then it crashed. Well, first thing that happened when the economy crashed in 2008, all the construction jobs went away. They stopped doing construction. So I got laid off. So here I am with a brand new house, a 2-year-old kid, no income, zero, nothing, no support. And at the time, I was too prideful to call my dad and say, hey, I need $500 to get by for the next 2 weeks, because that's not how my dad raised me. He raised me to figure out a solution to any problem that we had. So as my son was getting ready, or we were getting ready to eat dinner one night, all he wanted was a hot dog. Just a hot dog. You go get them at the convenience store now for what, $1.50? Well, guys, I didn't have enough money in the account to go buy a pack of hot dogs and a pack of buns to feed that kid that night. That was my rock bottom. That was my defining, changing moment of this is not how we're going to live. He ate a peanut butter sandwich that night. Still to this day, he hates peanut butter sandwiches. Won't eat them. He plays golf. I try to tell him all the time, peanut butter and jelly is the best thing to eat on the golf course. Dad, I'm not eating it. Just won't do it. We ate them too much. So the next day, I had to figure out a way to pay the mortgage, keep the lights on, and feed him. So social media was, I won't say it was in its infancy then, but it wasn't as big as it is now. I took to social media. I took to Facebook. Hey, if anybody's got any odds and ends they need done, lights hung, ceiling fans hung, floors laid, anything, doesn't matter what time you need it done, I'll be there, I'll do it. Got a couple of responses from that. So the next evening when he got home from daycare, I put him in his car seat, and he sat beside me until almost midnight while I was hanging light fixtures in this lady's house. She had about 15 different light fixtures she wanted hung. But that one night, I made $650. Hanging 15 light fixtures, $650. And you know, you kind of have those aha moments, or everybody talks about those aha moments where it's clear, it's a, you know, you see it clear. I was like, I can do this. So I started a handyman service. And I did that for a couple of years. And then when the market started picking back up, I started getting phone calls from general contractors that did big jobs. I took a job working with a commercial GC. We were renovating Class A office spaces in Atlanta. I did GE's office, I did Coca-Cola's office, I did FedEx's office. I built 2 orthopedic centers. I built probably 20 different restaurants in this town. But the whole time that I was jobless, I was still honing my skills. I didn't just sit back and say, I'm done world. There's nothing out there left for me. Because there always is, guys. There always is something else out there. Everybody in here knows where Cedartown is, right? All right, guys, that's where I grew up. Cedartown in the early 90s was pretty impoverished. There was not a lot of money in Cedartown. Still isn't to this day. My dad was a police officer. Not only was he a police officer, he was going to school full time to be a school teacher. We didn't have a lot. But he always taught us to persevere, to find a way. He always found a way. He was a single father too. My dad raised me by himself. And he never once let me know how bad we were really struggling at times. And I've tried to never let my son see that. And now I have 3 kids. And I try to teach them all now that if you work hard, you chase your goals, you chase your dreams. And again, this wasn't a dream of mine. Construction was not a dream of mine, guys. I just happened to be good at it. And I was good at it because I tried every trade there was until I found something I really liked. And I really enjoyed flooring, loved flooring. But being a single father, I couldn't go out on my own at 22, 23 years old. I had a mouth to feed. I had to be able to have that steady income. So I suppressed what I wanted to do in life, which was be an entrepreneur, work for myself, go out and make a name for myself. So I kept going to work from company to company. And I made good money, guys. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was, some jobs I was making 65 a year, some 75. The last job I had before I started this company, I was making $115,000 a year. I walked away from it. When my daughter was born, she's 7 now, when my daughter was born, I decided I was going to take some PTO, paid time off, right? You accrue paid time off when you're working for big companies. Every paycheck, you get a certain amount of hours that you can take off. And I get an email from the vice president of this company. Now, I've never taken time off. I'm one of their top project managers. I'm running $30 to $40 million of projects a year with this company at this time. Vice president sends me an email. The heading is WTF. Y'all are all teenagers, you know what that means. I opened the email, and it was, what the do you mean you're taking 2 weeks off? Now, mind you, I was laying in bed with my wife and my newborn daughter. And I'm being made to feel guilty by a corporate company for taking time off to spend with my new daughter. I roll over, I look at my wife. I said, the day you come off maternity leave, I quit that job. She goes, you can't do that. So we need the stability. Nope, I'm quitting. She goes, no, you need to turn in a 2-week notice. You need to do it the proper way. No, I'm just going to walk out the day you go back to work. Now, guys, my wife's an engineer for Clorox. It afforded me to be able to quit my job because she had a really good job. So I finally have this opportunity to do what I wanted to do in life and have my own company again like I did when I was 21. So she came off maternity leave in April. I walked out 2 days later. I walked into the corporate office. I laid my keys, my computer, and everything on their desk. And I can remember the construction director looked at me. He goes, oh, what's wrong with your computer? Do you need a new one? I said, no, I won't ever need it again. And I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't talk to anybody there. Never looked back. Took 4 months off. I needed a break. I worked long hours, traveled a lot back then. So I took a few months off, figure out what I was going to do. Well, in that few months off, I started getting phone calls. Hey, we heard you left your job. Do you want to start doing a kitchen renovation? Do you want to do some floors? Yeah, I'll come do them. One of my first jobs was a big kitchen. Removing walls, new cabinets, new everything. That one job, that one person that took a leap of faith on calling me after I left a corporate job where I was making really good money, has now parlayed into what will be a $3 million a year company this year. We're 6 years old, guys. My first year in business, we made $115,000. It's not a lot of money in the construction world. I started this business in a 60 square foot offset of my garage. I had a desk, computer monitor, and some drywall walls. That was it. We just moved into a 6,000 square foot facility. We now have 7 full-time employees, 3 full-time project managers, a vice president, and we'll probably do about $3 million each year. That's one company. I was crazy enough to start another company at the end of last year. Does everybody remember the freezes that happened at Christmas? Everybody's pipes were rupturing. So I've dabbled in the water restoration business for 10, 12 years. Well, opportunity knocked, we seized it. I already had some water restoration equipment in our warehouse. I went and bought about $40,000 more as soon as the pipe started rupturing. We ended up with 19 jobs in 4 days. All because of the name that we had built with revision, design, and renovation. People start calling. Christmas Eve, a client calls, $2.5 million house, his basement's flooding. They were upstairs opening gifts for Christmas. All while his basement's flooding. We were at his house within 20 minutes. Saved 98% of his basement from being completely ruined, a $500,000 basement. Next day, I'm in Cedartown for Christmas. I'm on my way home that evening, driving back up 85. I get a phone call from a guy that owns a country club. Hey, sprinkler system ruptured. We're standing at 8 inches of water. It's Christmas night. It's supposed to be a family, right? Had to make a decision. Keep hanging out with the family or sacrifice and start growing another company. I look at my wife and she goes, don't even say it. I said, just drop me off at the country club. Don't even take me home. I'm in sweatpants, tennis shoes, and a t-shirt and a hoodie. I'm there till 4 a.m. pushing water out of this building. I didn't even have a water extractor at the time. Monday rolls around, I go buy a water extractor, buy a bunch of equipment, we start rolling. Then we get a call for a daycare. Then we get a call for a house. And we end up with 19 jobs. So now, Revision's on track to do about $3 million this year. My other company, Renegade Restoration, is on track to do about $1 million this year. Now mind you guys, I started this in December. Started it in December. I've never paid for advertisement. The only thing we've ever paid for is sponsorships for high school football teams, little league teams, everything. We've built this entire company, both companies. We've built both companies off of this device right here. Y'all are all on them all day, every day, right? Social media. Now there's paid advertisement on social media. And Mr. Freddie back here in the back, he's a social media daggum genius. I've never paid for advertisement, guys. I've posted my work. I've had word of mouth. I network. I probably network more than I do anything. We're a member at a golf course because my son plays all the time. My wife thinks I'm up there just goofing off half the time. But every person that walks through that door is a potential client to me because, one, they're a member at a golf course. They probably have money, right? Most people that are members at a golf course have money. Well, now I'm renovating the whole country club. $500,000 renovation. Just because I used to hang out up there. Got to know the owner. Got to know the GM. It's all networking. But we're able to do that because of the name we've built over the years with other clients doing what we say, when we say we're going to do it, and we're doing quality work. Now, you may look and say, well, anybody can do that. You're right. Anybody can. When you're out there in the world, in the business world, you're selling yourself. You're not selling a product. You're selling yourself. People are buying into you. If they believe you, they will hire you versus the other guy. You may be more expensive. I am more expensive than most guys. I still get the jobs because they're buying us. They know that when I tell them, this is what we're going to do on your job, we do it. Your best tool is marketing yourself, guys. No matter what you want to do, whether you want to be in the trades industry, the business industry, anything, your best tool is marketing yourself. But when you break that trust and you start telling people you're going to do stuff that you don't do, people don't believe in you anymore. So my message to you guys is If you stay in this trades industry, which I hope some of you do because we're lacking a lot of trades guys. Mid-90s, early 2000s, everything was pushed at college. Go to college, go to college, go to college, go to college. That's all everybody ever heard. You can't do anything unless you go to college. Guys, that's just not true. There's a ton of millionaires out here never stepped foot in a college. There's millionaires out here that were homeless, addicts, everything. Got a buddy that has a roofing company. He's probably got one of the best stories I've ever heard. He now runs a $40 million a year business. If you looked at him, you wouldn't think he had a dime to his name, which is funny because the guy's got more money than any of us. But he did what he said he was going to do. He was excellent at marketing, and he is still growing to this day. I think he's in multiple states now. So if you want to be in the trades industry, go get a trade certificate. Does anybody in here know the easiest way to make $80,000? Anybody? Anybody? Any of you guys? You can make about 80 grand 2 years out of trade school. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC. You can be a tech with a certificate making $65,000 to $80,000 a year. No college degree. Probably very little debt because trade school is not that expensive. And you're set for the rest of your life because what does everybody always need? Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, construction. It's never going to go away, guys. They can do all the AI stuff they want to do in this world, and it's never going to take place of all of us trades guys. It's just not going to. Never will, never has. So don't let people tell you that you're lesser than because you want to be an electrician, because you want to be a general contractor. Doesn't matter, guys. Doesn't matter. I told this story in the last class. I'll tell you guys. We went to a wedding a few years ago for a coworker of my wife. Now, does everybody know what a debutante is? High class, high society, grew up very wealthy. This coworker of my wife's, she grew up in Buckhead Country Club. We went to the wedding. Now, before the wedding, I'm feeling super insecure because I'm a contractor, right? I'm just a contractor. It's what I've always thought. I'm just a contractor. Everybody looks down at us. I'm just a contractor. Well, I had to put on the same black and white tuxedo as the millionaire walking through the door to get into this wedding. It was a black tie event. Well, I told myself before we got into the building, I'm going to network. What better way to network than with a building full of millionaires, right? They've got houses. They need repairs. Well, we got sat down at a table with a doctor and a lawyer, both very, very wealthy. I start talking to him like he's a normal person. I ended up doing one of the jobs. Well, that job parlayed into another job for a buddy of his. And it just kept building, and we kept building, and we kept building. I've never stopped building. I've never stopped trying. I've never stopped marketing. I've never stopped networking. Guys, I've done jobs for players for the Atlanta Falcons. I've done jobs for celebrities. I've done jobs for country music superstars. Now, I'll throw one name out there. We're in a country town. Most people know. Everybody knows Trace Adkins, right? Trace Adkins, country singer. He's one of my biggest clients right now. I'm renovating his lake house. Got the key to his house. Go whenever I want to. You know how I got that phone call? Because my concrete guy that had poured driveways for me trusted me and knew that we did a good job. So when he got the call from a realtor to pour a new driveway at this house, they said, oh, we need this done and this done and this done. Well, I got that phone call. Not because I knew a country superstar, but because my work had given me a path to get those types of clients. About to do a job for a guy that just signed a major extension with the Atlanta Falcons. Got that job because of somebody else. Somebody knew me that knew my work. My first house, guys, that I renovated when I started this company was 1,100 square feet. And I'll show you guys a picture on my phone in a few minutes. One of the last houses I renovated was 16,000 square feet in 6 years. 1,100 to 16,000 in 6 years, guys. And some of you may say, hey, 6 years is a long time. It's not. 6 years is a short period of time in the business world. But we've continually hustled and built and worked and marketing and networked. We never stopped. I never stopped networking. I was having lunch Monday. My son was about to play a golf tournament. I was having lunch. Guy walks in, sees my shirt. Hey, you're the guy doing the job over here, right? Yes, sir, I am. Well, hey, my wife and I just bought a house and the contractor's done a really bad job. You mind coming over and looking at it? Yeah, I can set that up. What do you know, when you want to set it up? I'll introduce you to my wife and you'll get set up. How many people in here drink energy drinks? Most all you high school kids drink energy drinks. Just raise your doggone hands. So I Googled this guy that night. I thought he was an athlete. He looked like an athlete. Ends up, he's the vice president of Monster Energy. He approached me, guys. I didn't approach him. He came up to me when I was eating lunch. But it's because of that reputation that we've built that people come up to us like that. So if you're going to go into this industry and you're going to do this work, again, they're buying you. They're not buying anything else. They're not buying the product you're putting out. They're buying you. You have to go out and sell yourself and make sure that people trust you when you go onto their jobs. 90% of the houses we work in, nobody ever is home. They give us the key to their house. They've met us maybe once or twice. They hand us the key to their house. Now, it could be a $350,000 house. It could be a $3 million house. We get the key to it. We work on it all day while they're at work, or they're in training camp, or they're out of the country. Now, how many people do you know that would just walk up and hand you a key to their house? Very little, right? Very little. Maybe your grandparents. That's about it. But we've built that reputation over the years of we can be trusted. If anything happens, we're going to take care of it. If anything goes missing, we'll accept the responsibility, even if we didn't do it. I had a client at Christmas that swore we stole a $600 pair of sunglasses. Now, we photograph every job before we start the job so that we can see where all the placement of everything is. Not in one of those photos was a $600 pair of sunglasses. And I knew that. I knew the sunglasses weren't there. I handed him $600. You know why? One bad Facebook review, one bad Google review will cost me thousands of dollars. So $600, while it is still a decent amount of money, is a drop in the bucket compared to what we could lose if this guy goes on Google or Facebook or anything and says, hey, these guys steal your stuff, don't hire them. All credibility that I just built for the last 5 years is gone. So while you knew you weren't wrong, you had to swallow that pride, had to suck it up, had to fork over $600 for a pair of sunglasses that I found out later on were $299. But we did it because we didn't want to lose potential customers. So social media is a double-edged sword, and you guys know that being teenagers. It's good and it's bad. Same thing in the business world. It's a great tool to market, great tool to build a business, but man, people like to talk. And they are quick on the trigger if they get upset while you're doing their job. I've had it happen. And then you got to beg them later on to take the review down. But it happens. You can't control everybody's emotions. Renovations are very emotional for most people when you're in their house for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. And we haven't always done it right, guys. We've messed up jobs. I've had to go back a year and a half later and give somebody money back because I knew the job wasn't right. Your character. Your character is all you have. If you ruin your character, nobody's going to trust you. Nobody's going to buy you. Nobody's going to employ you. It'll all be gone. Now, I know a lot of you guys didn't raise your hands that you wanted to be in this class. I know you came back in. What are you looking to do or want to do in the industry?
Well, I don't know. I just want to be employed, that's for sure.
But do you want to be employed by yourself? You want to be employed by somebody? Do you enjoy electrical? Do you enjoy flooring? What part of the industry do you enjoy right now?
I guess electrical is my favorite thing to do so far.
And you got a good teacher out there, right?
Yeah.
What about you guys? I know y'all came in late, so y'all obviously came from another class and wanted to hear our speech instead of the other guy talking. So what do you guys want? What do you guys like about the industry?
This is my first year in this class, so far I've only really done electrical, but it's been pretty fun. I like to do that, maybe carpentry. Just want to learn more and see what I like.
So you plan on doing it after high school or just during high school, or?
I like to do something like building things. Like I finished the engineering pathway here. Thought I'd start this one. I want to make something, like do stuff with my hands.
Okay, that's how I was. I liked the industry because it was instant gratification when you finish a job. You stand back and, whoa, I did that. That was my hands that built that. And that's going to last for years, guys. That house is going to pass hands. Hey, who did this renovation on the basement? Who built this kitchen? Oh, this is the contractor we used. So I encourage you guys to stay in the business, enjoy the business, learn the business, because we're running out of guys in the business. We're running out of trades guys in the business. They're getting fewer and far between every day. And quality ones are very hard to find. Very, very hard to find. Y'all got any questions you want to ask me? I'll answer anything.
So you're not worried about AI taking out construction workers? Mm-mm. Why not?
There's certain things that you can't replace the human hands with. You can't put a robot in a basement and say, okay, well, that kitchen works better over here than over here. That's a visual eye. It's a design thing. Now, yeah, maybe 20 years down the road, they may have some advancements in technology, but guys, you got to think, construction's been happening for thousands upon thousands of years. We've progressed, but construction's never going to go away. They're not going to put robots out there building houses anytime soon, just like they don't have flying cars yet. We were all told growing up watching the Jetsons we were going to have flying cars by 2020. We got hybrids. They're not flying, though. So I don't think it's ever going to fully take over the industry. It may take away some of the front end stuff on the office side, but when it comes to actual craftsmen and tradesmen and doing the job, I don't see it happening. And if it does, I'll eat that crow in a few years if that happens, but I just don't see it happening. Anything else? Come on, guys. Y'all still got time in class. Y'all got to ask some questions. The first class asked a bunch of questions. You got a question. I see it. Thinking about it.
What would you say is the best way to get started?
Find a company. You know, y'all are in high school, about to go out on spring break. My son will work for me during spring break. He loves coming in and doing demo jobs and things like that. But you just got to find somebody that's going to take a chance on you. I mean, I was 18. Tracy took a chance on me. I was just a little young, tall, scraggly kid, didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. And so I'll go make some easy money with him. It wasn't easy, I promise. He was a tough teacher, which you guys have probably seen in here. But he's a good teacher. He's a very good teacher. I learned a lot from him, guys. I used to ride around in the truck with him from job to job to job. And I used to get so frustrated as an 18, 19-year-old kid because, man, he would just stay on the phone. And then we would stay at a job site with him talking to a customer forever. And I'm like, man, can we just leave? But what I didn't realize is he was building rapport with those customers. He was building trust. He was building a relationship. So yeah, we may have been in the customer's house for an hour and a half talking about the same thing, but by the time we left there, they trusted him just like my customers now trust me. I watched his every move without him knowing I was watching his every move. And subconsciously, I didn't even know I was watching his every move until years later when I got into business and started doing the same thing myself. I caught myself staying in clients' houses for an hour, hour and a half, talking on the phone, texting with them, making sure they were comfortable. And now that's just the norm for us. My first message this morning was at 5:42 a.m. My second one was shortly thereafter, about 6 o'clock. My phone will go off till 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. Now, some entrepreneurs don't do that. Some entrepreneurs don't have to do that. But with us, we're in people's houses working while they're at work. So when they come home, they have questions. We have to be available to answer those questions or we can't continue to grow. If we say, you know what? No, I'm not answering your questions tonight. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow morning comes, they're at work. Well, what if they're at a job where they can't use their phone? Well, now they don't have their questions answered. So now all day in their head, they're worried about what they were going to ask me that may be taking 2 minutes of my time that evening. And I'm probably more readily available than most business owners, but that's just the model we've built, and it's worked over the last 6 years. My team is starting to take over more responsibilities now. I can step out a little bit, step behind the scenes, do a little bit more of the networking, but I'll never be completely in the background. That's just not how this business runs. I still like having my finger on the job, checking with clients. Hey, is everybody doing a good job? How's the quality? Can I come look at it when they're done? We never stop improving. I never stop taking classes. I leave in 2 weeks to go to Nashville to take classes for an entire week. It's just continuing education. Learning more about stuff that's coming into the business. Learning about new design trends. Because I do a lot of the design work myself when we design and build these basements and kitchens. You know, what softwares are out there? What can we use? There's so much at your guys' fingertips now that we didn't have when we were coming up. Y'all can find anything on these phones. Anything you can find on this phone. You can YouTube how to frame a house now. You can YouTube how to fix your car. We didn't have that. We had some grumpy old guy teaching us how to frame a house back in the early 2000s. That was it. And if you didn't like the grumpy old guy, he'd kick you off the job site and you were jobless. So you just had to deal with it. But guys, just if you want to be in it, commit to it. Don't put a half a foot in. Put the whole foot in. Don't be scared. The biggest thing you can do is fail, and then you're going to learn from that failure, and you're going to pick up, and you're going to go do it again. But you're going to do it better the next time. And then if you fail that time, you're going to learn from the mistake you made that second time. Because you're going to fail. You're going to fail in the industry. You're going to fail in life. There's going to be failures. If you don't have failures in adversity, you're not going to grow. We can't learn if we don't face adversity. I've been there. You guys have probably been there. Some of you may be there now. But there's lessons to learn in everything we do in life. If you make a bad grade on a test, what's the lesson? I didn't study hard enough. Study harder next time. Same thing with us. If we miss a deadline or we come in over budget, we didn't do something right. We got to go back to the drawing board and figure it back out. If you want to be in the trades, don't walk around feeling like you're less than because you're a tradesman. Hold your head up high, hold your chest out, just like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You're not less than because you want to be a tradesman, because you want to go work with your hands, because you're not college material. Guys, I wasn't college material. And I knew it in high school. I knew it was going to be a complete waste of money for me to go into college. I was a visual learner. I was a hands-on learner. So the construction industry works for me, and it's been very profitable for me. So don't ever feel like you can't do this industry because you're worried about how people are going to perceive you. So if any of y'all have questions, concerns, you want to be inquisitive about the industry, my number, that's my direct phone number back there. Feel free to reach out. I'll answer any question you have. If you don't feel comfortable asking your teacher, shoot me a text. Ask me the question. Because I'm going to be honest with you. That's one thing with my son. I keep it real with him all the time. I don't tell him what he wants to hear. So, y'all don't hesitate. But I do appreciate you guys being attentive and letting me join you guys today. It's been fun.